Welcome, everybody, to the Bush and Me Show. Week 4. Can you believe it's almost 25% of the season?
Man, I didn't even think we was even going to be here. So the fact that we're here, look, I'm enjoying every single week of football.
We'll take it. Football is back. Speaking of back, comebacks this week were insane. A lot of blowouts where people were coming back. Let's start with the Bears game. They came back from down 16-30 to win in Atlanta 30-26. 20 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Is Dan Quinn on the – let me give you a little stat right here. Dan Quinn is 24-27 in regular season games since the Super Bowl. Is he on the hot seat?
I would say so. I would say so. And just to me, looking at the last 2 weeks, how do you drop these games? These are mental errors. You go back to the Dallas Cowboys game. That's a mental error. That's a reflection of the head coach. Jump on the ball. Like, you don't have to wait 10 minutes, right? You don't have to. Then you go back to last week, and Foles comes in and he dices them up. He dices them up when he comes in, throws for 3 touchdowns. It's impressive. I definitely think he's on the hot seat. It's a big week for the Falcons. Falcons. I put an I on
Falcons. First time in NFL history a team has blown a 15-point or more lead in the fourth quarter 2 weeks in a row.
Cue to Drake. Can you cue Drake back to back? Joe, can we put that in there? Back to back. Because they lost 2 big games. It just shouldn't happen. You got to preach finish. You start the game, you got to preach finish in the game. That's the most important part of it.
All right, I'm going to get off the Falcons because you could go all day on this.
I really could.
The Buffalo Bills, one of your favorite teams last year, up and coming, blew a 28-3 lead, and then they came back.
But what did they do?
35-32.
What did they do, though? They finished. The Rams were a good squad. They finished. Josh Allen, I think he's the real deal, man. Can I give a couple stats right quick? Through 3 games?
I guess.
Yeah, I'll take your role for a second. 124 passer rating through 3 games. Over 1,000 yards passing through 3, 84 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen's the real deal. I'm excited about this week.
He did get a little bit of help from the referees. There was a questionable pass interference call on 4th down. Usually the Rams got those calls, as you would know, but this time it went against them.
Another low blow. I wouldn't expect anything else out of you.
Josh Allen was 24 of 33, 311 yards for 4 touchdown passes and ran one in for you fantasy owners out there. He's the real deal. The Bills are the real deal. This was the only undefeated matchup this week. Both teams were undefeated. The only one of the weekend, and it did not disappoint. Now the Bills are the only undefeated team out of that matchup.
Do that.
I got a question for you. Usually I have some stats based around it, but this might be sensitive to you, so I'm just going to come out with it clean. Should the Saints be worried?
I think they should be worried a little bit, but they shouldn't be worried about the other teams in the NFC South. I think they should really be worried about themselves. You know, they are literally killing themselves with self-inflicted wounds. You can't do that. I'm going to give you another stat, man. They have 24 penalties in 3 games for 300 listen to this, 331 yards. Their opponents have 15 first downs from Saints penalties. What's the deal? What's Taysom Hill's role? You know, the last 2 games he's had 4 rushes for 14 yards and a lost fumble. I feel like they are not really finding his rhythm, his groove like they did last year and the year before. It's like I said, I think the Saints are really killing themselves right now. I'm looking forward to them kind of bouncing back, but I'll talk about that a little later.
All right, it seems to me like you said, they don't have any rhythm there. When the defense steps up for them, the offense doesn't follow suit. When the offense steps up and scores, the defense kind of lets the other team drive down, as we saw last Sunday night. So they need to get something together here, some continuity, and play a full 60-minute game. They look decent. I mean, they gave up the early touchdown against the Bucs week 1, but after that, they look really good. Yeah. And ever since Mike T's been gone, they haven't really found their mojo.
Yeah, it's definitely been offense has been lacking the last couple of weeks without him. So I'm excited to see if he's able to come back this week. I hope he doesn't rush it, but I think they have the mindset going into it this week that they'll be able to get it done.
I have to agree with you there. Moving on to another team that's trying to find their mojo again, the Baltimore Ravens. Seems like they go on the big stage and they get away from what they do best, which is run, 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 run. Let me give you a little stat here. The first 6 plays of the game, for anybody that watched Monday night, they look great. They ran all over the Chiefs. They got down to the 8-yard line in 6 plays, averaging over 10 yards a run. Now it's 2nd and 3 from the 8-yard line. Now, if you're the Baltimore Ravens team, one of the best running teams, if not the best running team. You got 3 plays now to get 3 yards. I think that's pretty feasible, but they went incomplete pass, field goal by Justin Tucker. Now you're up 3-0 in a game at home instead of shoving it down their throat, being up 7-0. And the Chiefs see that as a win and took some momentum right away.
It's a blown opportunity. You get down there, you get to the 8-yard line, like you said, and you don't get a touchdown. That's nothing. 3 points is nothing to the Chiefs. When you have the opportunity to get 7 against the Kansas City Chiefs, you need to take that opportunity and do what you did to get you in that position.
Keep doing what you do.
Yeah.
And they went away from that. All right, so that's what we saw a little bit of week 3, a little bit of disappointment. Hopefully Baltimore can step it back.
Hold on now. We're not gonna sit here and not talk about my Dolphins now. We're not gonna sit here and not talk about my Dolphins now. Look, my boy Fitzpatrick bought the Fitz magic. You heard me. Listen, 18 for 20, super efficient. He only had 160 yards, but that's okay because he did throw for 2 touchdowns in the defense. That was the first point. I said Fitz magic, and he needs to bring it. I need the magic this week. And the defense has to step up. They needed to step up last week. 4 sacks and an interception by my dog, Xavier Howard. They stepped up. Dolphins got in the win column. I love to see it.
Dolphins did look good, and the public was actually all over the Jaguars. And Minshew and Magic had to teach the young boy that the old man still had it. He was running the ball, too, in there, sticking his head in there, getting some first downs, get a touchdown.
You got to do what you got to do.
He looked good. He was getting in between those big linemen. Speaking of the big linemen, give us the Bush's Big Ballers Week 4 edition.
Bush's Big Ballers. Look, we're going right back to my Saints. And I have to, I got to elaborate on this a little bit. Look, the Saints have dropped 2 in a row, but they have been in the same position in 2017. They started 1-2, and they were able to get their mojo back, get their groove back, and they were able to get on a roll. But I bet you this is what they did. They relied on the big guys up front. The run game, I'm going to give you the positive before I give you the negative. Alvin Kamara, 4.9 per carry. Latavius Murray, 4 yards per carry. Here's the negative. 311 total rushing yards through 3 games. That ranks 23rd. 73 rushing attempts. That ranks 25th. 105 yards per game on the ground. That ranks 23rd. We got to step that up. That is not winning football. That's not playoff football. That's not championship football. It needs to be addressed. But the pass game has been solid, but I would love to see Drew Brees start to push the ball down the field more. Mike Thomas' absence could have something to do with that, but Drew is still completing 70% of his passes. He's still the most accurate quarterback in the league. But I think AK has taken over from Mike Thomas in the receiving department, but hopefully that Mike could come back and AK is able to get more handoffs because 4.9 a rush is pretty impressive. But like I said earlier, rely on the bigs up front. The last 2 losses have been a lack of balance. You have 39 total rushing attempts in 2 games. That's not going to get it done. You know, you're looking to at least rush the ball 25 to 30 times a game, especially with those 2 backs. Unfortunately, though, for the Saints, Andrews Pete did go down versus the Packers, so that's a big blow for their rushing attack because that's a big body. But Cesar Ruiz and Nick Easton are going to have to step in, provide protection for Drew, and they're going to have to be able to show that they can cover these defenders of the Detroit Lions this week so they can make some holes for these playmakers that they have. I said all of that to say this, though. Run it early and run it often. Let's see the play action section of that massive play call sheet that Sean Payton has in his hand every week. I want to see that part of the sheet open up. Plus, when you're balanced and you're able to keep the defense on their heels, you limit the time You limit the time your opposition can have the ball. And I think that's going to be key this week for Matthew Stafford because he can get the ball down the field. And another thing to watch for in this game versus Detroit is this. Detroit's offense versus the Saints' defensive front seven. Detroit has given up 9 sacks. The Saints have 7. But Cam Jordan has yet to register even 1 sack. But I foresee my dog Cam leveling up and snagging at least 1 this week. It needs to happen. That's my first Bush's Big Baller segment. But look, we're going to go to a game that most people probably wouldn't think I would pick. We talked about it earlier. You were like, why this game? I'm going to tell you why. It's Jacksonville at Cincinnati.
Ooh.
The Bengals look, listen, let me get my reasons in all first. Look, the Bengals are favored this week. I want to see Joe Burrow get his first NFL win. He's accumulated 821 yards over 3 games, 5 touchdown passes with only 1 interception. So he's taking care of the ball. He even has 64 rushing yards. But here's where they fall short. Joe Mixon only has 164 rushing yards on, get this, 52 carries. Do a little math in your head, me. That's 3.2 average per rush. That's not good, big dog. In the past game, Joe Burrow has been sacked. Check this out. 3 games now, 14 times. So give me a little bit of math. That's almost 5 per contest. 2 major problems that are fixable: the rushing attack and the pass protection. But listen to this. There is good news for Cincy's offensive line. The Jacksonville Jaguars are coming into town, and they are definitely underachieving early on on their defensive line front. The Jags have 3 sacks. None of them from their defensive line. They're all coming from their linebacker crew. All of them are from the linebacker crew. I couldn't believe that stat when I saw it. But look for a motivated Cincinnati offensive line to have a shot to get into the win column this week. It's an opportunity for Joe Burrow, honestly, to light up the stat sheet come Sunday. Since these big ballers up front have to come out with a physical and a finishing mindset from start to finish. Because Joe Mixon's 3.2 per rush will not cut it. You might lose every single game if you can't rush the ball more than 3 yards per carry. One last note, though. I really truly believe Cincinnati has found their long-term franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow. But understand this, and you can probably shed some light on this stat, man. Understand this: too many hits early on in a young quarterback's career can definitely have a negative effect just on their progression. I'm not saying it's going to happen to Joe Burrow. I feel like he has a good head on his shoulders, but I'm just saying you've seen some great college quarterbacks come into this league, get lit up for a couple years, and they're a little timid back there, and they're just not the same type of player. Sure. So take it personal. Take it personal, big fellas up front. Communicate at a high level. Keep Joe upright. Finish defenders, and let's celebrate a W this week because I'm pulling for you. I want to see the big guys up front flourish and play well. I want to see Joe get this W.
For all you guys out there that have seen the Brady 6 30 for 30, Giovanni Carmazzi and Spurgeon Wynn are 2 guys that you talk about that took a lot of hits early that messed with their psyche, and they were looking down at the lineman instead of downfield after all that happened. So that's a good point that you make.
Good. That's a great stat. I had no clue who those guys were.
and there's a reason. Not for long for them.
Yes.
All right, that was Bush's Big Ballers. I love that segment, man. Gives me a little insight. I use that to pick my fantasy sometimes. Speaking of fantasy, week 3, I gave you fantasy. Gave you 4 guys. We hit on about, we're going to claim 1.5 this week that we got, right?
Okay.
We'll start with the misses. Evan Ingram, I thought was going to step up against San Fran, depleted defense. He just didn't show up. The Giants didn't show up. He had 2 catches, so that was kind of a throwaway. I knew what was going to happen in this game. I told you guys Dallas was going to go up and down the field. I told you guys some receiver's going to have to step up, and I went out on a limb and took Lamb. I messed that one up. I called it right, but I had the wrong guy. Derek Wilson, who I had never heard of before. 2 deep touchdowns, over 100 yards. I mean, if you guys found him, we'll bring you on the show, and you can pick the players because I didn't even know who that was. I called everything right. I just couldn't get the right receiver. And then our 1.5, I'm taking a half on Tannehill because he did get over 300 yards passing. He just didn't get you into the end zone. So he got you some points there if you did take him. And Austin Eckler, I didn't watch this game, so when I was looking back at the stats, I said, ooh, 59 yards and a touchdown. And then I saw 11 catches for 84 yards. If you're in a PPR league, that's another 19 points to get you 29 points. That's a home run out of the park right there. Austin Eckler.
Solid.
If you listen to us and grab that one. So we're going to take another swing this week and hope to get 2, 3 for you. I'm going to start with quarterbacks. I'm going with Derek Carr of the Las Vegas Raiders this week. They are playing the Buffalo Bills, 3-0 Buffalo Bills. I think Josh Allen's going to come out and put some points up against the Raiders, but they're back at home in Vegas, and I think Derek Carr is going to step up. He's 745 completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions this year. The over-under is 53 in this game, so it's going to be high scoring. They might fall behind early, so he's going to be throwing a lot. Go with Derek Carr, quarterback. My running back this week is probably my favorite pick. You talked about this in your Big Ballers. We don't want to watch this game, right? It's Jacksonville and Cincinnati. But I'm saying take James Robinson. Many of you out there probably haven't heard of him. He's the running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Listen to this stat. The Bengals this year against the run gave up 155 yards to the Chargers, 175 yards to the Eagles, and 215 yards to the Browns. They're just letting people run all over them. Over-under is 49 in that game, so it's going to be relatively high scoring. Take James Robinson this week and surprise a lot of people. Wide receiver. We're going back to an oldie but a goodie. I'm going with Julian Edelman for my sleeper at wide receiver this week. Big matchup, New England and Kansas City. 2 weeks ago, Sunday Night Football, Edelman had 8 catches, 179 yards against Seattle. Then he came back against the Raiders last week, 2 catches, 23 yards, so kind of came down. But he's a guy that's going to show up in those big games, and there's no bigger game right now than against the Kansas City Chiefs. Cam's going to need to throw the ball to somebody. I don't think Harry's the guy in these big games. Take Edelman out there. Over-under is 54, so you're going to get a lot of points. Tight end, I'm going down to the city of Miami, where you call home.
Welcome.
And I'm going with Mike Gesicki. They're playing the Seahawks this week. Now, he had a rough week last week against the Jags. 1 catch, 15 yards, was a touchdown, so you got a little bit of points there. But 2 weeks ago, 8 catches, 130 yards, and a TD, kind of made a name for himself. So then a little down week last week. I think he's coming back with a vengeance this week against the Seahawks. They're going to have to throw the ball, and over-under is 54 in that game, so I think he's going to get a lot of looks. So go with Mike Gesicki. Recap there. We're trying to hit some home runs for you now. Just remember, recap. Quarterback, Derek Carr. Running back, my favorite, James Robinson. He's due for at least 100 yards against this Cincinnati defense. Edelman, tight end, Mike Gesicki. So there's your fantasy week 4 fantasy sleepers.
Those are solid. I think the one that really caught me off guard was the Jaguars one. I didn't realize the Bengals had been getting gashed like that. They better tighten that up ASAP, because they can't stop the run and they can't run the ball like that. That right there, that's a big man concern, offensive line and defensive line. Plus, they don't really have what's the tackle for the Bengals in the middle, Geno Atkins. He hasn't been playing. He hasn't played yet this week, so this year I believe. So hopefully he comes back and can make an impact.
Hopefully, but hopefully not. Maybe we're going to get to the picks. If one of us has a pick in that game, which way are we leaning?
Let's go.
Picks last week, we both did pretty good, 2-1. We did have a Mies money move that came in, though. First one of the year. Vikings didn't win the game, but they covered the 3 points. If you took them, you won. Mies money move, 1-0 on the year.
Dollar bills, y'all.
If you're not following us, make sure you're following us, because remember, we don't know when these players are going to come in. The numbers come out. It could be Sunday morning, could be Saturday night. We'll try to alert you as soon as possible and let you know the picks on our story. So make sure you're following at Bush and Me Show on all platforms.
Yeah.
Make yourself a little bit of extra money. All right. The public took a little hit this week. The week before, we told you that the public was winning everything and Vegas was waiting for them to give some money back. So the public took a little hit with the Panthers upsetting the Chargers, the Lions upsetting the Cardinals, Dolphins upsetting the Jaguars, and the Vikings covering. So those were 4 big hits that Vegas won on. The over-unders are still on fire. The overs at 1 o'clock last week were 7-1.
Wow.
7 wins, 1 loss. The only loss was the game that went into overtime at 23-23. Over-under was 47. You needed 1 more point. So you're thinking, all right, overtime, we get 1 more point. Game ends in a tie. That's the 1 loss. So a lot of points being scored out there. 3 picks. Again, we're each going to do it this week. Bush, you want to start it off?
I'll start it. And you know who I'm starting with? My boys. They're going to Detroit. They are 1-2. The Saints over the Lions this week. You know, I spent most of my career a part of this organization. So I know it can't be a good vibe in that facility right now. They are desperate for a win. Like I said earlier, they've been in this position before. I expect the New Orleans Saints to come out to have their best complete game from start to finish. Balanced play calling, minimize those penalties, and you will come out on top. You have to, because Detroit will light you up. Saints over the Lions.
Spread's 4.5. Obviously, you know I like the Lions. I need them for my 6.5 wins on the season. So come on, Detroit.
Yeah.
Help me catch a game on Bush and help me catch a game in our yearly totals.
Yeah, you're going down this week.
I didn't take the Lions as my pick. I actually went back to your residence. I went to the city of Miami.
No.
This is kind of going out on a limb here, too. They're only getting 6.5 against the Seahawks. Seahawks have looked great all year. They're 3-0 against the spread, cover the spread every week so far. Russell Wilson, I mean, give him the MVP trophy right now. But the Dolphins are 2-1 against the spread. And the one game they didn't cover was New England, where they were close. They hung with them the whole game. The Dolphins, I feel like, look better than they are.
Right.
So I think they're going to keep it close here. I think Seattle might overlook them. Vegas is telling you it's less than a touchdown at 6.5. They're baiting you to take them. I think Seattle might still win the game, but 6.5 points I feel comfortable with. Dolphins.
It's not a bad pick. I kind of like it, but look, Russell Wilson's playing at a high level. It's going to be really key for the DBs of the Dolphins, because he's throwing it down the field. I've said it on my personal social media. Russell Wilson throws one of the best deep balls I've ever seen. I'm excited. I'm really excited about the matchup. Game 2, I'm going back with my Bears, baby. Bears over the Colts. They're at home. They're going to get the W at Soldier Field, brother. Listen to me. They're 3-0, but they could easily be 1-2. But I think Nick Foles brings a little life to this team. Mitch got benched, which sucks for him. But listen, that's just part of the game. Foles stepped in and delivers 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns and an amazing comeback win. I think they ride the wave. Ride the Foles wave, buddy. I got Bears over the Colts.
And you're getting 2.5 in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Funny, because I went with the Colts this week.
Oh, here you go.
Like went down the sheet, and this looked like the easiest game for me just to check off. Bears are 3-0, right? Came back from 17 down in the 4th against the Lions. Then they played the lowly Giants. Then they came back down from 16 in Atlanta. 3 wins. I think their luck's running out. The Colts are just getting stronger and stronger every week. Basically had a week off last week against the Jets. No offense out there. But they had another week to get ready, get healthy. I'm taking the Colts are 2.5. I'm taking the Colts. I think it's big.
That's fair. My game 3. I already gave you the keys. Bengals over the Jaguars. Joey Burrow, he gets his first win, baby. I can't wait to see that smile on your face, Joe, when those big boys up front do exactly everything that I said they're going to do. You know what they need to do. I outlined it. I already put it in Bush's Big Ballers. Just rewind the podcast and listen to it. You're going to hear everything. You're going to hear all the keys. The winning formula is right there. It's up to the big boys up front. Bring the muscle from start to finish. And that defensive line and those linebackers, able to gel together and be on the same page, because you cannot give up another rushing attack against your defense like you have been. You know, it's pretty much see what you got here in your chest, in your heart, and let's figure out a way to get it done. Bengals over the Jaguars.
Here we go again, head to head. While you're rewinding to go back to Bush's Big Ballers, stop off at the fantasy sleepers and take a listen to James Robinson. The Bengals are giving up 200 yards almost damn near a game. James Robinson's going to go off, and when he doesn't go off, my boy Uncle Rico Minshew is going to play action and dump it off. I think the Bengals are getting there. You know, you tied the Eagles. How good are the Eagles? We don't really know. You're getting there, Joey, but I don't think it's your time yet. I think Uncle Rico is going to come in and show you who the boss is. I'm going Jaguars +3.
You're sick. You're sick in your head. I'm going Bengals.
Uncle
this week.
Ricky. Uncle Ricky.
That's it, man. I feel good about my picks. Again, I've been pretty solid over the last 3 weeks. If these boys can come through for me another week, I'm happy. Bush's Big Ballers, we outlined it. You got all your fantasy picks from my guy Me and his Me's Money Moves. You got to stay on top of our social media. You got to.
You never know what's going to come up. Me's Money Moves could be this week. It could be Sunday. You don't want to miss out. Make sure you're following at Bush and Me Show. All social media platforms. We'll be on Twitter. We'll be on Facebook. We'll be on Instagram. We're on YouTube. Check it out.
You know the drill.
We'll see y'all next week.